Sadarambham
Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya
Asmadacharya-paryantam
Paryantam
Vande
Vande
Guru
Guru
Paramparam.
Paramparam
Om
Om Sana
Sahanavavatu
Vavatu
Sahano
Sano
Bhunaktu
Punaktu
Sahaviryam
Saviryam
Karvavahai
Karvavahai
Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma
Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma
vidvishavahai.
Vidvishavahai
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti.
Shanti.
Okay, so we are on the 7th Anuvaka, and is Arvind there? Okay, Arvind, are you
Yes,
there?
Ravi. Yes,
Sir,
I'm there.
Anuvaka number 7, please. Bhrigu Valli.
Om Annanna Nindyat Tadvratam Prano Va Annam Shariramannadam Prane Shariram Pratishthitam Sharire Pranah Pratisthitaha Tadetadannamanne Pratishthitam Saya etadannamanne Pratishthitam Veda Pratitishthati Annavanannado Bhavati Mahan Bhavati Prajaya Pashubhirbrahma Varchasena Mahan Kirtya.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so we had finished Anuvaka number 6 in the last class, which is, of course, a couple of weeks ago. And we saw that the entire Panchakosha Viveka we had completed. And the analysis is therefore over. The technique has been the technique of arriving in Brahman. Ultimately, we arrived at what? Anando Brahman. So that we arrived at. The technique was presented. And now here, Shruti is giving us an upasana. And in the following Anuvakas, you will have find two things. Upasanas are there and some vritams are there. Some disciplines to be undertaken, which is a vratam. Basically, it means it's a promise which we make, so we'll follow it. That's a vratam. Okay. So, and here you will find that most of these vratams, most of the disciplines are to do with Annam. And therefore, the natural question is, why is Annam so important? The answer is what? You start with which kosha? In your Vedantic inquiry, you start with which kosha? Annamaya kosha, and that is the first stage. And of course, we all know that the maximum deha abhimanam, body identification that we have is with which kosha? Annamaya kosha. This is the grossest form of I. So the person who doesn't know anything about the Shastram, when he talks about I, he talks about his body. So if his hand gets hurt, he says, I got hurt. If he is fat, he says, I am fat. If he is tall, he says, I am tall. So this is the grossest form of identification, the first level of identification. And in the next 3 Anuvakas, you will find that there is a sort of a particular form of upasana being prescribed. We saw this in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It is a Virat Upasana. Learning to look at Jagat, at the universe, as the body of the Lord. Now you have to visualize the universe as unfragmented, as one, one complete unit. For example, we say, this is my body, right? But if you look at the body, it has various parts. You have the hands, your fingers, legs, nose, eyes. But you refer to the whole thing as one unit, one unique single unit. Similarly, this body of the Lord is akhanda, non-fragmented, is one samashti unit, one cosmic entity, organism if you want to call it, the Lord. And this is Virat Ishvara, It can also be Hiranyagarbha Ishvara if you're looking at the subtle body. Now the idea is that this Virat Ishvara or this Hiranyagarbha Ishvara we have seen so far. The teaching is almost over. So we have seen that this Virat Ishvara is not different from me. I and Ishvara, whether it be Virat or Hiranyagarbha, I and Ishvara are one single unit, not different from each other. Now, most other schools of faith, most other religions, they will present Ishvara as an entity separate from you. Right? So in Sanskrit, we call it Tathastha Ishvara, a Lord who is different from the Jagat as well as different from the Jiva. And this is Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara concept. This is the triangular format which we are looking at. Okay. But once you come to Vedanta, you have to shrink this to the binary format, because Vedanta says Ishvara is not different from you, Ishvara is not different from the world also. And therefore, from this Jiva Jagat Ishvara, which is triangular, you have to shrink it to a binary format. That is the first stage of Jnana. Now, what is this binary format consist of? The triangular format consists of three things: Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. What is the composition of the binary format? Very basic question.
Atma Anatma.
Sorry.
Atma, Anat. Okay. So don't say Jiva Jagat, Ishvara Jagat. It is Atma, Anatma. Now, so similarly here, we take the whole body, the whole universe, all the parts are interconnected, but they are all one body, one part of Ishvara, one Ishvara. And individually, the individual parts have a relation to the whole, of course. They are dependent upon the whole. The whole is also dependent upon the individual parts. There is a mutually interdependent relationship. So we call it symbiotic relationship, feeding off each other. Neither can survive without the other. And Shruti here is presenting this aspect of Ishvara, and there are in these Anuvakas, you will find that there are three pairs of objects. One pair is two. So there are three different pairs of objects, and we are asked to practice upasana upon the interdependence of each pair. So this is very important. So I'll repeat it again. In the Anuvakas, you will find there are three pairs of objects taken. In each pair, you meditate. So there are three different meditations. Meditation is on each pair. And on each pair, when you meditate, what are you trying to focus on? You are trying to focus on the symbiotic relationship between the two of the pair, right? And this interdependence is also presented in the form of two types of relationships, right? So again, three pairs are there of objects, of entities. You are going to meditate on each pair and each meditation on one pair consists of two types of interdependent relationships. One is the consumer-consumed relationship, and one is the supporter-supported relationship. Okay, so each pair has two types of relationships: consumer-consumed relationship. So in Sanskrit, annam, annadaha, sambandhaha. Annam is grain, food, which is consumed. Annadaha is the one who consumes. Therefore, annam, annadaha, sambandha is the consumed consumer relationship. Annam is consumed, Annadaha is consumer. And the second pair is supporter-supported relationship. So pratishtha, pratishtitaha, sambandha. To give an example, while the body is alive, the body consumes annam. The body is annadaha, food is annam. That is the consumer-consumed relationship. Later on, when the body dies, this relationship exists, but the entities are reversed. After death, annam, represented by what? By the earth, by Prithvi. Annam is Prithvi. So Annam Prithvi becomes the Annadaha. Prithvi becomes the consumer. What is consumed is the earlier Annadaha, which is the body. So first, during lifetime, body consumes food, food being represented by Prithvi. After death of the body, the Prithvi consumes the body. So Annam, Annada, Sambandha works both ways. Similarly, Pratishtha, Pratishtitaha Sambandha, supported relationship. A simple example is, when we were children, our parents supported us. When we grow old, the relationship is reversed. And now that we are older, we support our parents. Okay, so this is the basic idea between the two types of relationships. Now, we said there are three pairs of objects. And if you look at the seventh Anuvaka, which we are now currently doing, the pair is what? Pranaha and Shariram. The body and Pranaha. So, this Upasana consists of seeing two things. Annam, Annadaha Sambandhaha, consumer-consumed relationship, and Pratishtitaha Sambandhaha, the supported relationship. Between what? Between Prana and Shariram. In the next Anuvaka, two more pairs are taken. In the eighth Anuvaka, Agni and Jalam are taken. The same Upasana is done, seeing the two Sambandhas between Agni and Jalam. And in the ninth Anuvaka, two more pairs, Prithvi and Akasha, are taken. And the same two Sambandhas have to be meditated upon. What is the idea of presenting or prescribing this meditation? The idea is to know that life is one interdependent whole. The universe doesn't exist in isolation of you. Everything in the universe is dependent upon everything else. And what is my duty as a Vaidika? My duty is to live a lifestyle in which these sambandhas, these relationships, are not disturbed at all, ideally, or disturbed to the very minimal necessary extent. For example, I cut trees. What sambandha am I disturbing?
Supported.
Support. How? Can you give the logic?
Like we as human beings are dependent on trees, and
How?
the food we get from them, oxygen we get from them.
Okay, correct. So the trees absorb what we exhale, carbon dioxide.
Right. Yeah.
And the trees give us, in exchange for the absorption of the carbon dioxide, the trees give back oxygen, which we need, right? And if you are cutting trees or disturbing this dharma, ultimately it will destroy you only. And this is what Krishna also said in the Gita, 3rd chapter. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha agharindriya ramaha mogham parthasa jivati. The one who does not understand this cycle, this balance of nature, he harms all of creation. And therefore he says, mogham parthasa jivati. His life has been wasted. Okay. So these three upasanas, Anuvaka 7, 8, 9, when you put together, it is equivalent to Virat Upasana. And Virat Upasana is critical to our understanding of Nirguna Brahman. Virat Upasana, Virat is who? Saguna Brahman. Without understanding Saguna Brahman, there is no way that you can move to Nirvana Brahman. And therefore it is very, very critical. Therefore it is prescribed. So I said two things were there in these Anuvakas. One is the Upasana and one is the discipline, the Vratams. So what are the Vratams? What are the disciplines? Now look at the 7th Anuvaka. It begins Annamna Nindaya. Do not criticize food. Okay, the food which has been served unto you, do not criticize. Be grateful. Eat that food. So Krishna talked about it. Yadracha labha santushtaha. Be happy with what you have got. Whether it is just rice and dal or whether it is a 5-course meal, it is what your karma has presented to you. Just eat it with gratitude because food is there on your table. So, annam nanindya tad vratam. This vratam you must take. This is the first two phrases. Annam nanindya, do not criticize food which is served to you. Tad vratam, this is a vratam which you must take. Why? Because annam is Brahman. And Shankara adds, why is annam Brahman? Annam alone is the cause, the karanam for the annamaya koshaha. And you start with annamaya koshaha in your panchakosha viveka, which is the technique to come to Brahman. And therefore, annam is the gateway for understanding Brahman. And he says, yasmat tasmat. Because of this reason, you should not criticize Guru. Annam nanindiyat Guru miva. Just as you do not criticize your Guru, you should not criticize Annam also. So that is the first Vratam. Annam nanindiyat. Do not criticize Annam. And Shankara equates it to not criticizing your Guru. That same reverence which you show to your Guru, that same reverence should be shown towards Annam. That is the first Vratam. Then comes the first Upasana. Prano va Annam. Right? Prano va Annam. There he is comparing Prana Shakti and Annam. What is Annam? Food consumed. And Prana Shakti. So Prano one, Pranam is Prana, he says, Prana Shakti is like Annam and Shariram Annadam. Shariram, the body, is the consumer. Annam is the consumed. What is the idea being conveyed? That the Annadam, the consumer, the body, inside that body, once you eat food, the food is held inside the body. It nourishes the body. Similarly, your Prana Shakti is also inside the body. It nourishes your body. And therefore, Shariram is Annadaha, consumer. And two things, Prana and Annam, are consumed. So this is the Annam, Annadaha Sambandha between body and Prana. Annam here is only to indicate that Prana is just like Annam, which is being consumed. Right? So, when you look at the the Upasana, the Upasana is on Prana Shakti. But for the sake of understanding, he is saying this Prana Shakti is just like Annam. Just like Annam is held within your body, which means what? The consumer is the body and Annam is the consumed. In the same way, you have to understand that consumer is the body and prana is the consumed. So that is the Upasana. Visualizing the prana as the Annam, as the consumed entity, visualizing your body as the consumer entity. That is the first sambandha. What is the next sambandha? Pratishtha, pratishtitaha sambandha. Supported relationship. So, go back to the Mulam. It says, Prane Shariram Pratishkhitam. Prane Shariram Pratishkhitam. By this prana, by prane, Shariram Pratishkhitam. Body is supported by prana. What is the logic? If there is no prana shakti in you, body cannot be alive. Therefore, prana is the supporter. Then, next one is Sharire Prana Pranaf Pratishtitaha. Prana is supported by body. Earlier we said body is supported by prana because without prana, the body cannot be alive. Now he is saying prana itself is supported by shariram. Why? What is prana shakti? The expression of prana shakti is in kriya shakti, actions. But this kriya shakti cannot function if there is no sthula sharira. Get the idea? Kriya shakti needs a physical body. Your pranamaya kosha by itself cannot do anything until the physical body is there. Pranamaya kosha provides the impetus for kriyas, for actions, but the physical body has to be there. And therefore, unless the prana is enclosed in a physical body, that prana cannot do any activity, and therefore prana is supported by the body. Prane shariram pratishtitam, body is supported by prana. Sharire pranaha pratishtitaha, prana is supported by sharira. And therefore, the mutual, symbiotic, interdependent supporting relationship is being established. Okay. Then, tadetad annam anne pratishtitam. Tadetad annam anne pratishtitam. So, you can see there are two annams. Tadetad annam anne. Okay, tadetad annam anne. So, two annams are there, and you have to carefully understand the first annam. How do you arrive at the conclusion? Based on the context. What has been the context? Prana and Sharira. Right? So the first annam here represents prana, and the second annam represents Shariram. Therefore, this is the conclusion of the earlier two Shruti Vakyams, which said that Prane Shariram Pratishtitam, Sharire Pranaha Pratidishtataha. Conclusion is that Tadetat Annam Anne Pratishtitam. The two annams, that is Prana and Shariram, are mutually supported. There is a symbiotic relationship between them. Okay. To summarize again, Annamaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha can function only in the mutual presence of each other when they are together. Without Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha can do no actions at all. It cannot manifest its power. And without Pranamaya Kosha, Annamaya kosha does not have the capacity to do any action. This is the meditation. This is the first upasana. Okay. What is the benefit? What is the phalam? He says, Saya etad annam anne pratishtitam veda. Whoever meditates upon this annam anne pratishtitam, this mutual interdependence, whoever meditates upon it. So Veda here literally means knows. Knows means you have thought about it sufficiently in the manner in which Shruti is saying. You have analyzed the independence, mutual independence, and now you are saying, okay, I have understood. So Veda, he has understood this mutual interdependence. What is the phalam for him? The last word, Ratitishtati. This is the phalam. Ratitishtati means he will be supported. He will be well supported in his life. He will have friends, he will have family, and of course, he will have Ishvara also. So this is a major phalam, that he will be well taken care of. He will never feel unsupported in his life. Why? Because he has meditated upon the supporting relationships. There are some other benefits also. That's given in the next line. Annavan annado bhavati, mahan bhavati, prajaya ashubhir brahma varchasena mahan kirtya. So there are a lot of laukika benefits also. And so you can annavan annado bhavati. He will have lots of annam. Annavan bhavati. Lots of annam will be there. He will never be short of food. Annado bhavati. He will never have indigestion. Okay. He will be able to. Annado bhavati means what? He is a consumer. He is a consumer who will be able to digest what he has eaten. So annavan bhavati, he will have lots of food. What is the use of lots of food without being able to digest it? So Shruti says, Annavan bhavati, annado bhavati. Not only will he have food, he will have good digestive function also. He will be able to enjoy his food. Then Mahan bhavati. He will become great. Why? Prajaya. He will have lots of children. Pashubihi. Pashu is basically cattle. Cattle is the equivalent of wealth. So in those days, your wealth was judged by how many cattle you had. So Pashubihi, he is very wealthy person also. And not only that, Brahma Varchasena, he will glow with the glow of spiritual knowledge. Brahma Varchasam is a special word, meaning that glow which comes to your face when you have understood the Shastra. So he will glow with that. And Mahan Kirtiya, he will become a very famous person also. With this, the 7th Anuvaka is over. Any questions? Very simple Anuvaka, but still. Okay, if there are no questions, I will request Arvind to chant the 8th Anuvaka.
Yes, Raviji.
Om.
Annanna parichakshita tadvratam apo va annam jyotirannadam apsujyotif pratishtitam ज्योतिष्यापः प्रतिष्ठिताः तदेतदन्नबन्ने प्रतिष्ठितम् स य एतदन्नबन्ने प्रतिष्ठितं वेद प्रतितिष्ठति अन्नवानन्नादो भवति महान् भवति प्रजया पशुभिर्ब्रह्मवर्चसेन महान् कीर्त्या.
Okay, thank you, Arvind. So this is another pair of objects has been taken. This of course gives you a second pair. There is second vratam and the second upasana. They are given here. What is the second vratam? You can see the first line. Annam na parichakshita. Don't reject food. Of course, you have to add here, don't reject food which is served to you, because rejection of food or wasting of food is disrespecting annam. So, what happens? Like, this is a very delicate issue, not wasting food. Now, when you go to Indian functions, Indian marriages, for example, or you go to a friend's place for dinner, what does the hostess do? I mean, normal hostesses, not Vedantic hostesses. What does the hostess do?
They try to force feed us a lot.
They
Show
try to
hospitality.
force feed you, right?
Mm.
So you're already full. And then she will come and say, okay, I have some chapati more. Right? What should you do? Because if you don't eat what she gives, what happens? You're disrespecting the hostess. And if you accept it on a plate and waste it, you are disrespecting food. And if you eat the food when you're already full, you are insulting your body. You are disrespecting your body. So either way, any of the three ways, you have a problem. There is disrespect to the hostess, or to the food, or to your body. So which is it better to disrespect? The hostess, the annam, or the annamaya kosha? That is the question. Right? Now, ideal answer is, when you are full, be firm, put your hands across and say, thank you very much, I have finished. Okay. Now, there will be people who will still serve you when you have said no, when you're already full and you know you can't eat anymore. There will be people who still serve you. But here there is a school of thought which says that once you have said no, you have expressed your intention. And thereafter, if the person who is serving you still serves you and then the wastage is there, then the papam goes to the person who serves, not to you. Okay. Anyway, the idea is that you should be careful while serving food. You should be careful while eating food also. Tad vratam. This is the vratam. Now you will come to the second upasana. Apo va annam. Apaha is jalam. So apaha, water. And then the next one is Jyotir Annadam. Jyotihi is the Apohova, Annam is water is the Annam. Water is the consumed. Jyotir Annadam. The consumer is Jyotihi. So Jyotihi here you have to take as fire. Vaishvanara Agni. Right? Digestive fire you can take. And why do you say there is a relationship? Because when you drink water, what consumes the water is your Vaishvanara Agni. The Agni consumes the water you drink, right? That is one part of the consumed relationships in which Agni is consuming the water. Now we saw earlier also that you have to reverse that relationship, right? Apo va annadaha jyoti annam. This you have to supply. Apo va annadaha. The water is the consumer. The fire is the consumed. How can you explain this statement? Water is consumer and fire is consumed. Simple example. No?
Water puts out the Agni if we pour water on that.
Excellent. So Agni is consumed by water being poured upon it. Right? In the first case, we are saying that the digestive fire, it consumes the water which you drink. There is a consumer-consumed relationship. The reverse relationship is also there because Agni is consumed by water when you pour the water on it. There is a symbiotic, a mutual relationship, consumer-consumed. That is the first sambandha. The second sambandha is also given. Apsu jyotihi pratishthitam. Agni is the supporter of Jalam. Agni is the supporter of Jalam. Now, what is the basis for this statement that Agni supports Jalam? You are in an Upanishad class. You must know everything.
Because Jalam comes from Agni. The
Very
Agni
good.
is
Where do you see it?
Tattva-bodha.
Panchatattva evolution.
Evolution.
Akashad vayuhu, vayus
Vayu,
tejas,
vayu.
tejas apaha. Right. So, Agni is a supporter of Jalam. So, tejasa apaha. From Agni, water is born, which is basically you are saying that Agni is the Karanam for Jalam. And Karanam is always the support for the Karyam. The cause is always the supporter of the Karanam. And therefore, Pratishtitam. This Agni, water is supported by Agni. And then you have to give the reverse view also. What is the reverse view? From Jalam, the reverse view is that Jalam is the supported and Agni is the supported. Supporter. Sorry. Jalam is the supported and Agni is the supporter. This is the reverse view. The first is that from Agni, the supporter, Jalam, Karim is born. The second should be that water is a supporter, Agni is the supported. For this, the standard example is that anybody can guess what should be the example where water is the cause for Agni? All right. So Shastra refers to, Shankara refers to the rainy season. What is the cause of the lightning? The rain-bearing clouds in the sky. The rain-bearing clouds in the sky represents the water element, Jala Tattvam, and the lightning represents the fire element, the Agni Tattvam. And therefore, in this reverse relationship, we are saying that the fire here, the lightning is the product of the rain-bearing clouds, Jalam. Jalam is the Karanam and lightning, that fire, is the Karya. Okay. Another example we can take. In your body, physical body, there is Agni Tattva. How does it manifest itself?
Body heat, body temperature.
Body temperature constant at 98.4. Right. Now, the body temperature remains constant 98.4 in spite of the summer heat going up to say 110. What is the supporting activity here? which maintains your body heat at 98.4?
Sweating.
Sweating. Again, Jala Tattva. And therefore, Agni is supported by Jalam. Jalam is supporter, Agni is supported, Agni is supporter, Jalam is supported. Both the relationships are there, and therefore he says, Saya etad annam anne pratishthitam veda. The one who understands this relationship, the one who meditates upon this relationship, pratishtaha, he will be supported in his life. What are the benefits he gets? We have already seen. Annavan annado bhavati, mahan bhavati, prajaya pashubhir brahma varchasena, mahan kirtya. The same explanation as I gave earlier. He is annavan, he has lots of annam. He can eat properly, he has no digestive problems. He becomes great because of children, cattle, and the spiritual glow on his face. And he becomes Mahan Kirtya, he becomes a very famous person. So with this, the second Upasana and the second Vratam is also over. Any questions? It's pretty simple, because first one explained means the rest are all just ditto.
So there's no connection between the Vratam and the Upasana, like first and second.
First and second, there's no connection, but between each Vratam and each Upasana, there is a connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what.
They are just taking separate pairs to show that three separate pairs represent the entire universe. So the idea is that there should be interdependence of everything.
No, that is all right. But between the Vratam, like rejection of food, and this fire and this relationship, is there any connection?
Annam, no? Annam is there. What is Annam over here? Apo va Annam. Water is the Annam.
Oh, that way.
That
Right.
Yeah. Whenever you say do not reject, you are talking about the Annam part of it. The Annam is here water. Apo va Annam.
Right.
Okay. Now, one more. We have enough time for one more. Okay. Arvindji, could you just chant Anuvaka number 9, please?
Yes, Raviji. ॐ अन्नं बहुकुर्वीत तद्व्रतं पृथिवी वा अन्नम् आकाशो ओन्नादः पृथिव्यामाकाशः प्रतिष्ठितः आकाशे पृथिवी प्रतिष्ठिता तदेतदन्दमन्ने प्रतिष्ठितं स य एतदन्नमन्ने प्रतिष्ठितं वेद प्रतितिष्ठति अन्नवानन्नादो भवति महान् भवति प्रजया पशुभिर्ब्रह्मवर्चसेन महान् कीर्त्या.
Okay, thank you. So we look at the third Vratam. It says Annam Bahu Kuruvita. So may you produce plenty of Annam. This is the third discipline. You should not reject Annam, you should not insult Annam. The third one is you should produce plenty of Annam. Which means what? Let there be plenty to eat always in your house. And if you find that there is more than you can consume, then you should share that with others, right? So you can take it as whenever you cook not only for yourself, cook for Annadanam also, for giving others. So Tadvratam, this is the third Vratam. And the third Upasana is given. The third set of two entities are Prithvi and Akashaha. So Prithvi va Annam, Prithvi is the consumed, Akashaha Annadaha, the earth, the space is the consumer. Okay. And the reverse is also there. Akasha is the annam, and Prithvi is the consumer. How to understand? Go back to Tattva, which is the first born Akasha and the last born Prithvi. So which is the consumer and which is the consumed? Remember, Karanam always if you look at it in reverse, in Pralayam, what happens? What consumes Prithvi in Pralayam? Sorry?
Akasha. Well, I mean, the
Ultimately, you have Jalam, Agni, everything comes in. Ultimately, Akasha consumes. Okay, so Akasha is the consumer, Annadaha, and Prithvi is the consumed, Annam.
Right.
What about the reverse? How can you say that Prithvi is the consumer and Akasha is the consumed? Remember that anything that you see in this world as an object, whether it be a mountain, whether it be a building, whether it be your car or your glass, they are all different forms of Prithvi only. What does any object need to exist? It needs space.
Space.
It needs
Akasha.
Akasha. And therefore, every object, that's Prithvi, it eats up the space in which it is placed. The glass in front of you, it displaces space. And therefore, every object, Prithvi, consumes space. And therefore, you have the two relationships. From Srishti, Akasha, from Srishti angle, Akasha, the first born, is the consumer. From practical Laukika angle, whatever is born, whatever is there, it needs space to exist. Therefore, it is the consumer. Right? So, when you look at this Karanam Karyam relationship, Akasha is Karanam for Vayu, then Agni, and final Karyam is Prithvi. Therefore, Akasha is the Pratishtitaha, supporter, and Prithvi is supported. Both relationships are true. Right? First was what? Consumed, consumer. And if you look at the next line, it says Prithivyam Akashaha Pratishtitaha Akashe Prithvi Pratishtita. This is the Karanam Karyam relationship being said. Akasha is the Karanam for Vayu, Vayu is the Karanam for Agni, Agni is the Karanam for Prithvi, and so on. Final Karyam is Prithvi. Therefore, Akasha is supporter for Prithvi. Earlier was consumer. The same logic, the same Tattvabodha is being used to say that Akasha is the supporter also, because the Karanam is always supporter for the Karya. Okay. How about the reverse? When can we say that Prithvi is the supporter and Akasha is the supported? So, Akasha by itself is not useful for any transaction. Right? If you want a house to live in, that space has to be enclosed in a room. It becomes useful to live in when it is thought of as a room, which simply means there is a space enclosed by Prithvi, the walls of the room. Similarly, if you want to store some water, space is useless unless it is enclosed in a pot. And therefore, space requires the support of the enclosure, which is Prithvi, to become useful. Therefore, there is a reverse relationship also. Akasha is the consumer, Prithvi is consumed, Prithvi is consumer, Akasha is consumed. Akasha is supporter. Prithvi is supported. Prithvi is supporter. Akasha is supported. Tadetat annam anne pratishtita. These two are having a interdependent relationships. And therefore he says, Taya etat annam anne pratishtitam Veda, the one who meditates on this twofold sambandha, pratishtitaha, he will be supported in his life. And like earlier, annavan annado bhavati, mahan bhavati, raja pashubhir brahma varchasena, mahan kirtya. Same explanation as before. And therefore, from this you can extend, you can take any two pairs, meditate upon the relationship, upon the interdependence, and finally convince yourself that the universe is like one cosmic organism. It consists of interdependent parts only. And when you put them all together, these three upasanas, when you put them together, for you, it can become a Vishwarupa Upasana. This is the way it is presented in Shruti. Vishwarupa Upasana can be presented differently also. You will find in Chandogya Upanishad, there is a different presentation. You will find in Puranas, there is a different presentation. You will find in Bhagavad Gita, there is a different presentation. But ultimately, it is all pointing towards a Virat Upasana or a Vishwarupa Upasana. Okay. Now, at the end of this, Shankara adds one very pertinent point. What is the idea of these three upasanas? Once you understand that everything in this creation has an interdependence, you will understand that nothing in creation is independent. Everything in creation, when I say independent, then to make it come into our language, we have to say, if nothing in creation is independent, we can say that nothing in creation has got independent existence, which means everything in creation has got dependent existence, which means what?
Mithya. Everything
in creation is mithya. Jagat mithya. Therefore, Jagat has some other support than itself, and that support is Brahman. That Brahman which lends existence to the entire creation. Right? For example, I as a teacher, the teacher's existence, the Acharya existence is dependent upon the Shishya. The Shishya's existence as a Shishya. Shishya status. Okay. When I say Acharya existence, I mean teacher status. The teacher status is dependent upon the students. The student status is dependent upon the teacher. Both have an interdependent relationship. Therefore, both you and I are mithya. So with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions? Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti
Shanti, Shanti.
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Namaste, Vara. Thank you,
Om.
Ajay.